What's up, everybody? Glenn here with Big Jack, bringing you a Chicago Bears Week 1 regular season 2022 game preview. The Bears will be at home versus the San Francisco 49ers. Uh, we expect it to be a dogfight on Soldier Field, looking like some rain is going to be present tomorrow. Big Jack, pleasure to have you back tomorrow or back on the channel. Always a pleasure to have you here. The format we're going to have today is Big Jack is going to let me know his three keys to a Bears victory against the 49ers. And we're going to do a little back and forth on it, okay? So that's the game plan. That's how we're going to do it. Big Jack, glad to have you here. What's your first key?
Yeah, man, it's great to be back. I'm going to jump right into it. First key, I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. In the other video, I kind of give a little banter about Trey Lance, but I do think the quarterbacks is an absolutely huge matchup this weekend. Justin Fields in his second year, he needs to start taking that next step forward, showing that he could be that franchise guy that we all want him to be so desperately here in Chicago. And Trey Lance, I mean, I sort of joke about it, but he has not played football in a very long time. It's going to be his first NFL start. He's on the road, and there's going to be a lot of nerves involved. It's supposed to rain, going to be a tough weather game for a guy who likes to use his legs, relies on his speed quite a bit. I think him never playing at Soldier Field should also be a factor. We all know it's literally the worst field in America, the worst stadium probably in the world, an absolute dump, a complete travesty on the lake. Can't wait till they're out of there. But, you know, he's not used to it. Justin Fields, on the other hand, has about a full season under his belt now, and he's used to Soldier Field. That should be an advantage for the Bears. That should be an advantage for him. He's got to go out there, take that next step, show that he could be the guy. And if Justin Fields is the guy, regardless of how people want to bash the lack of talent that they say there is in the building, if you have the quarterback, you can get a lot of things done. The
You
Bengals went
figure
to
it
the
out.
Super Bowl last year with Joe Burrow. He got sacked about a billion times, and they still went to the Super Bowl. So I like Justin Fields to take that next step, and tomorrow's a big day to start showing that he can.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel good about Justin. Don't know about Trey. When you think about football, you got to start with the quarterbacks, most important position on the field. And then the funny thing that you bring up, it's almost like a second key, even though it's not your second key. It's like a 1A, 1B, is the weather and how it's going to play with these mobile quarterbacks with the terrible Soldier Field surface, rainy weather, like bad rain, I think. They're not going to be able to run around like they want to, especially Lance. I mean, it's my understanding that he's like even more dynamic of an athlete, like almost like Lamar Jackson. I don't know if that's true or not. Where Justin can sling the rock too. I don't know, man. We don't know about this Lance guy. Last time he played was North Dakota State Division One AA or whatever it is. He had great numbers there, and obviously he's an athletic prospect. But I don't know, man. I agree with you. He hasn't played in like 3 years meaningful football. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, no, you know, piggybacking on the weather comment again, I think it could be massive. Hopefully, slow him
Could be
down.
huge, and it
Make
could be huge for like
yeah,
not to maybe bring up any of your other points, but could be big in like slowing down Bosa and some of these other freaks on the San Francisco defense. Like it low key, the surface combined with the rain could be a massive advantage for the Bears tomorrow. But we'll see.
yeah. Just make it ugly, keep it close,
Yeah,
and hopefully come out on top. But
even
yeah,
the playing field a little bit.
for sure. Moving along to the second key. This one is not so much a matchup. This is more so just one-sided key to the Bears because I'm going to go with Eberflus and the coaching staff in general. I don't like to say that it's, comparing a matchup here because we all know what Kyle Shanahan's track record is and how well he's done. So I'm not trying to give the impression that this Bears staff is the next 49ers or is better than Kyle Shanahan. I'm just saying that I think Eberflus and his staff is crucial tomorrow. In the preseason, they demonstrated the ability to be complete professionals across the board. They eliminated penalties dramatically. I don't know the exact stat, but I don't know if they had more than a handful of penalties in all
It
three
was strikingly different than the
combined.
last couple of years. That's for
Right.
sure.
It's a professional operation. Getsy's has catered an offense to Justin Fields and the tools that they do have. These guys are all still professional football players, even if people want to rant about the lack of talent. They're all in the NFL. They're all outstanding football players. And I think that they are going to come in with a game plan, be professionals, not commit penalties, keep that discipline throughout the 4 quarters, full 60 minutes. And if they do that, if that coaching staff has them prepared the way that I believe that they will, I think it's going to keep them right in it with an opportunity to win.
100%, man. Couple notes on the Niners staff, too, if you want to compare the two. It's going to be a first-year OC, I believe, for the Niners. They at least lost McDaniels. I guess I don't know if their new OC is new. And then they lost Salah a couple of years ago, so their defense coordinator is relatively new. We went and took the DC from Indy. The D-backs coach, I think, from Indy is now our defense coordinator, Alan Williams. And we took Getsy, the quarterbacks coach, from Green Bay and made him a coordinator. The Niners have been successful, under Shanahan, going to one Super Bowl and I think another NFC Championship game. The good teams get their coaches poached. It's something that, especially with their offensive coordinator, they have to start gelling on that end. So maybe they'll be a little slow to get that ball rolling too. I think the coaching staffs across the board is an interesting matchup as well. I think it's a big key. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it moving right along again. I'm going to go straight to the third key. And you sort of touched on it yourself earlier, but it is that defensive line, offensive line matchup. I personally am playing the Bears. I'm going to take the 6.5 and run with it. The only thing that trips me up in any manner is that defensive front against our offensive line.
Sure.
I do like that we've had a fairly consistent unit for the better part of a month now in camp. And I think that they're going to hold up fine enough. And I believe, going back to the second key, that Getsy will have a game plan that allows them to be successful and doesn't really, put them in the most compromising positions. But that 49ers front is a beast, man. Nick Bosa, I think he might be the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
He's up there.
I know a lot of people are picking him. I don't know the odds off the top of my head or nothing like that, but he's a monster. They're healthy. I mean, they're tough to deal with. There's a reason that team went to the NFC Championship last year and decided to move on from their quarterback. It's because that defense is filthy. They can do a lot of things to a lot of people. A lot of teams that are seen as better than the Bears, they've been able to beat up on. So that matchup is, extremely worrisome at its surface, but I'm looking at that Bears offensive line. Show me something. You're at home. It's another thing with the field. You guys are used to it. You should be knowing how to get your footing right where you need to be. They are not. They're going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. You got to take advantage of that. Really utilize that home field and go out and get it done.
I agree. It's a huge, in every game, the trenches are where a war can be won and lost, right? So I agree. It's absolutely needing to be a third key, 100%, especially given the Niners front seven. To add to that, not that we're talking about the season, but if you were to look at the season and ask me, Glenn, what are you looking forward most to this year, and where your eyeball is going to be on any given play? First and foremost, okay, so real quick, there's 3 position groups that I really want to see develop this year, and I think have a very good opportunity to. The first one's quarterback, right? Everybody knows that. If Justin Fields takes a huge step forward, that's massive for our franchise. Second, right behind him, is this offensive line. I think we got something with Braxton Jones potentially at left tackle. I hope so. Whitehair's aging, but if we get like Braxton Jones and Tevin Jenkins to be starters in the NFL, that's like a massive year for the offensive line. Like good starters. And then we'll follow it up next year with another draft pick or another free agent signing. We're not going to totally rebuild the entire offensive line and make it a top 3 unit in 1 year, but I think Poles is putting a huge emphasis on offensive line, and that's where he's best at drafting. And I think that within 3 or 4 years, if they play their cards right, I think that we could have one of the premier offensive lines in the NFL, which, in my opinion, like I said, the trenches, if you got a top offensive line, that helps everybody else on the offense. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for tomorrow. I know you're on Bears plus 6.5. I probably will be as well because I'll be in the building and I'll be feeling good and rooting for the Bears. And I play every one of your picks, so I'll for sure be on it now that I think about it. But if I were making the picks, I'd probably steer clear of this one. I think that there's a good chance that the Niners handle us. But I think we have a tough first 2 weeks, and then we come back and we establish ourselves and start some real positive momentum moving forward. But 3 keys to the game. I think you're gonna find that everybody agrees with them: quarterback play, offensive line play, coaching staff. 3 of the most important things in NFL games, any football game. So I think you nailed it, Big Jack. I think you nailed it.
Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, big day tomorrow. Let's get a good start to this season. Come out firing, get a W, man. Shock the world, get that first W, and they'll be rolling from there. A light schedule after these first 2 weeks, and who knows what could happen if you come out and get this one. So they just got to go do it.
Give me one offensive and one defensive player without too much added commentary, because I want to wrap up this video. One offensive and defensive player other than Justin Fields that you're really going to keep your eye on tomorrow.
Kmet got to have a massive year. Another guy who needs to take that next step, prove his worth. And I'm going to go with Eddie Jackson.
Yep.
Where you been?
Yep.
He earned every penny of that massive contract he signed. And then I don't know what happened, but hopefully Alan Williams and Eberflus can find wherever he went and bring his ass back, because he could be a hell of a player. And, come on back, my man. Come on back.
For sure. I'm going to be looking at left tackle. That's where a lot of my eyeballs are going to be tomorrow. And then that's Braxton Jones real quick. And then on defense, I'm thinking I got to look at the cornerbacks, and I think I got to look at Jalen Johnson. It seems like every time I hear about him, he's talking about how he's one of the top 5 cornerbacks in his opinion in the league, one of the premier cornerbacks. I think he's got the ability. He needs to do it consistently for like a whole season and really cement himself. And then if he does, I mean, that is a premier position, and you could have a top caliber player at it, and that would be massive as well for this defense.
Yeah, I agree. He could take the next step, really be a leader, and then, dominate one side of the field and have our 2 draft picks, Kyler and what's his name, the safety, Brisker,
Jaquan Brisker, yeah.
Both come in and, fill their role.
That'd be great. All right, man. Good talking to you. Go Bears. If you guys are watching, make sure you subscribe, follow, and we'll be hitting you with weekly Bears and NFL gambling pick content. Thanks.
Bears.
Bears.